for each job and keep those tools in good repair. And always wear protective equipment to protect your eyes and hands and feet. Remember, safety on the farm keeps you from harm.
Today and every day in 2022, think and practice safety first.
Brought to you by DeWitt County Farm Bureau, where membership means value.
ServPro of Piatt DeWitt Counties is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of WHOW Clinton Maroon Player of the Game. Announced at the end of every Maroon sports broadcast, our WHOW announcing staff will select that night's WHOW ServPro Piatt DeWitt Counties Clinton Maroon Player of the Game, whose play will be highlighted in each WHOW Maroon postgame broadcast, and that player receives a certificate. ServPro of Piatt DeWitt Counties, make it like it never happened. Find out their services by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
You're listening to The Morning Show on the Big 1520 across Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. In studio with us is Terry Ferguson as we follow up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board Meeting. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Good morning, Terry. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Seth. Fine.
Good to hear. When are you going to get out and plant?
Well, I don't know. We apparently our area got the prize for getting the most rain over the weekend. we got 1.2 inches on Sunday.
Did you really?
Most of the county got about a half inch.
So. Yeah. I saw over by Farmer City about 0.8. Yeah. That was the only report I saw out of DeWitt County over the weekend. But think it'll be dry enough this week to get out there in some places?
I don't think we'll quite make it. We got to get the chemicals applied and all that stuff. And then again, it's supposed to rain all day Saturday.
Right, sure. So can't go a week without some rain in this spring.
So 3 days.
I know it. Yeah, exactly. So it's been a wet spring for sure. But Terry, we appreciate you making time for us here this morning to follow up the last Thursday night DeWitt County Board Meeting. And let's start, Terry, with those ordinances around solar. First ordinance regarding zoning for the development of a solar wind project, or a solar project, I should say. How about that?
Yeah, we've been struggling to redo the commercial solar ordinance for several months now, and it started out the land use committee kind of tried to jumpstart the process and did a lot of work on it as the RPC was spending their time working on the wind ordinance, and the land use committee worked it over. We passed it off. The full board then reviewed it and sent it on to the RPC for the hearings and all that business. And it was reviewed by the RPC, the ZBA, and then brought back to the county board for final approval a couple months ago. And we had some problems with it. We thought it needed some more attention. Sent it back to the RPC and the ZBA, and they sent it back to us with some minor tweaks. Some of the bigger issues, the ZBA termed that they would recommend that the county board deal with it. So on Thursday night we voted, and we did approve the zoning ordinance for commercial wind ordinance as forwarded from the ZBA. It's going to be a lot different. We'd recommended that the projects be allowed to be built on agricultural land and rural development 1 class land. And the ZBA and RPC changed that to industrial lands, which probably makes sense, but the county just doesn't have any unused industrial land.
Right. Or not enough for them to develop.
No. It sounds like we could probably scrape together maybe 10 or 15 acres.
Right. But then you've got, setbacks and stuff like that.
These guys are talking about 1,700 acres.
Yeah, exactly. So with that said, the argument was made that basically voting against this change was kind of a no confidence vote towards the RPC. How did you feel about that?
Well, I was one of the more vocal people when we were reviewing the special use permit for the wind farm. The county did end up going against the RPC and the ZBA recommendations on that. In this case, the comments from the RPC and the ZBA was, well, let's just let the county board rule on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't have any problems, with
Saying
discussing it and,
Yeah.
And seeing what we could come up with. Like I said at the meetings, a long time ago, we had a case came before the county, and we got advice from an attorney and the land use department from the University of Illinois that zoning is something that you can't zone out a business that's a legal business. You have to give them a place to go.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did the other night was the wind or the solar farm is definitely a legitimate business. Whether or not you like it is one thing or another, but we did pass an ordinance that doesn't give them any place to go.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to what happens next, do you feel like the county has opened itself up to some liability here? Because judging by the comments from the solar folks, the way the ordinance was written, they didn't seem to have any issues other than, of course, the zoning of, the property and whatnot. They didn't seem to have many issues with the other portions of the ordinance. Do you think that the county has opened itself up a little bit to some liability here?
It's possible. It'll be interesting to see how this, proceeds. I expect they'll probably go ahead and apply for a rezone
Mm-hmm.
on the property, see if they could get that acreage zoned industrial.
Mm-hmm.
Although, that's what you call spot zoning. And it's really not a process that you normally go through. If you're going to rezone property, it's usually done in advance of a project, not to accommodate a project.
What's the difference, I guess?
Well, you'd have an overall review of the total lands in the county. You would look at where rural development and industrial development ought to go, and you would establish those zones through the hearing process and get it all done, and then it'd all be available if somebody came to do a project. By spot zoning, you're giving somebody an opportunity to maybe buy land a little cheaper because it's not zoned for the purpose they want, spend a little time getting it rezoned, and it's really kind of an unfair process.
Is it an exemption almost, or is
kind
that
of like, I guess it would kind of be that way.
Okay.
So,
And I guess that just kind of opens up the door, the can of worms of down the road. Do they rezone when the solar farm goes away? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
that once the ground is zoned industrial, it'll be industrial. If the solar farm quits, unless you go back and zone it back to agriculture, it's wide open to do whatever you can normally do in any industrial zone.
Mm-hmm. As a farmer, did you find the argument interesting that you set up a solar farm on some acreage of of your property, and because you can't harvest that ground and the impact to that soil and land is so minimal that it actually kind of resets that soil? Did you find that argument compelling at all?
It's an interesting concept. I never really thought about it until it was presented.
Yeah, I hadn't either.
I guess it's kind of like being under a CRP that, you just let the ground rest for several years. And, I don't know what's going to be involved with taking down a solar farm.
Right.
They're mainly just a bunch of posts driven in the ground with glass panels attached to them
Mm-hmm.
and wires. I was more concerned about what would happen with the tile drainage, and if you go poking a steel post in the ground every 20 feet, 5 feet deep, and you're going to poke holes in tiles, and that could have an impact on the neighboring property.
Sure. Terry Ferguson, DeWitt County Board Chair, our guest in studio. Anything on that, Terry, we didn't get to this morning before we move along?
I think we beat that up pretty good.
I think we did. Yeah, I agree. Let's talk a little bit about the motion to adjust the responsibilities, and I guess legal authority is one way to put it, for the zoning administrator. How about this discussion, Terry?
Well, that was kind of interesting. There was a motion there to allow the zoning administrator to determine whether or not a special use permit application was filled out properly. The way that it's commonly viewed, our ordinance is that the zoning administrator has the duty to make sure it's filled out completely. It's not up to the zoning administrator to determine whether or not the answers put on the form were truthful or not, and that's to be determined by the hearing process. And there seemed to be quite a bit of argument about that, and it goes back to the special use permit from the wind application. We had a zoning administrator that refused to forward the application on through the process because she felt it wasn't filled out. But the legal interpretation is that that's not her job. That's not the job of the zoning officer to determine whether or not the answers on the form are truthful or not.
Right. So with that said, what did you make of the discussion? Were there valid points brought up, and what stood out in that discussion, I guess?
I guess we had a pretty lengthy debate on that. And of course the board was evenly split, so the motion to do that failed. And I guess we're going to keep operating the way we are.
What is of course, DeWitt County currently doesn't have a zoning administrator, and a lot has been talked about with that over the last several months.
Well, that's not quite true. We do have a zoning.
Well, you've got an interim, right?
Yeah. And actually, the way it's working, I've thought all along that for years that DeWitt County is not big enough to have a full-time zoning administrator. That on an average month you might issue half a dozen building permits, and that's really doesn't warrant having a full-time professional officer. To get somebody that's got experience in this and that, you're looking at a $50,000 a year job, and to issue 6 permits it's really not efficient. I've often thought that what we need to do is have change the workload, find some other things for the zoning officer to do. We've kind of done that. Dee Dee Rentmeister has worked for the zoning officer back in the day when we were beginning zoning. She was the zoning secretary. We've morphed into not having a zoning secretary anymore over the years and just having a full-time officer. But she's filled in probably 4 different times when a zoning officer left, and has a lot of experience with zoning, and she's able to handle the normal deals of the department. As long as you're not doing wind farms and solar farms, there's really not a whole lot to do.
Pretty easy process, it sounds like. So
yeah,
interesting. Well, I don't know where that conversation takes the board next. Any inclination as to what is next from a board level on that discussion?
No, I think for the most part we're satisfied with the way it's going right now.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, Terry, let's take a break. Come back with some more. DeWitt County Board Chair Terry Ferguson, my guest in studio. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Tuesday. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network. Corn, beans, and wheat all starting the day higher. May corn 809 up 8 3/4. July corn up 806. December new crop 741 3/4 up 7 3/4. May beans starting the day 1715 1/4 up 11 3/4. July beans up 10 1/2 1685 3/4. November new crop 1504 1/4. That's up a dime to start the day. May wheat 1091 up 29. July wheat up 28 1/2 1101. And September wheat 1095 1/2 up 24 1/4. May bean meal 455.30 up 290. May bean oil underway 83.69. That's up 95 cents. A look at the opening numbers at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Tuesday morning. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
New trucks and SUVs are coming here at Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. This is Scott Baum. Yes, we have new inventory arriving, and you can see what will arrive right on our website. Just click on the pre-order and reserve tab. From there, you will find vehicles in transit and vehicles in production. Or just call our sales staff and we'll help. Find Silverados, Equinoxes, Blazers, including Tahoes and Suburbans, as well as our complete Buick line of SUVs. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
MR Systems Wireless has an immediate opening. They're looking for a full-time internet installer to perform the initial setup of wireless internet and voice over IP services, as well as troubleshoot and repair wireless and phone services for customers. You'll be responsible for the basic installation and maintenance of wireless equipment. No experience necessary. Includes health benefits, mileage reimbursed. Starting pay is $15 an hour. Find out more and apply by going to mrsystemswireless.com, then clicking About, then Employment. Equal opportunity employer.
This is the morning show on 92.3 FM in DeWitt County, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Terry Ferguson, DeWitt County Board Chair, joins us in studio following up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting. Terry, let's talk a little bit about marina property sale. A pretty good haul for the county out of that.
Yes. When the county took control of the marina from the power plant about 20 years ago, they deeded us the marina and the bay, the water that the marina's on. There was 75 acres or 74 1/3 acres of undeveloped property across the water from the marina, and we've been struggling on what to do with that, and we've entertained developers to come in and do something. Never had any luck with it. That was several years ago. We finally decided as a board to sell the land and put the revenue from the sale of the property towards making improvements at the marina.
Mm-hmm.
And the property was determined that we were going to auction it off. We held an auction last Tuesday, and it was wildly speculated on what the property was going to bring. There was guesses everywhere from we might get $250,000 out of the entire property, or we might get over $1 million. And I personally thought that $10,000 an acre would be a good number, and that's what it brought $10,100 an acre at the auction.
Sure. So in total, that's what, about $750,000?
Yeah, about 3/4.
That's terrific. Where's that money going to go?
Well, we've got quite a list of projects. We've dedicated this year's revenue to from the marina to replace the south half of the breakwater, and we'll use this money then to work on the north half of the breakwater, hopefully this fall. And then we've got issues at the parking lots. We've got a couple of the docks that are about reached the end of their usability.
Mhm.
So there's plenty of places to use the money.
Sure. With that said, I want to go back to the property itself. There were kind of some limitations on what that could be used for and all those things. Do you mind running down just the highlights of that?
Yeah, we thought we needed to bounce the sale of the property off of Exelon, as they were the ones that gave us the property, and there was rules put in place back when the power plant was licensed about the uses within the inner circle around the power plant, and really that's kind of what they thought they wanted to attach to the deed, that that anybody had to abide by those regulations, and
so you're not going to
want
see
anybody putting in a fertilizer plant.
I was going to say you're not going to see much of that. It's probably going to just remain the way it
and-
is.
And there's 2 parcels on the ground. We put a limit that you could build 2 houses on the 75 acres. We had one gentleman that he turned out to be the second bidder. He was just wanting he wanted to have a retirement home overlooking the lake and a place to keep a horse. That's kind of what we had hoped we would get. The buyer that bought it, I have no idea what his plans are for the property, but I'm sure he'll do something with it.
Sure. All right. Very good. How far will that money go towards all those projects you're talking about there?
Oh, it would, we could handle the breakwater, probably the parking lots, and maybe one dock with it. And it's going to be a big boom to the marina. Make some much needed repairs and improvements.
How far will those things go towards the marina?
What do you mean?
Like, how much will it help?
Oh, you want to keep everything looking nice. When those older docks were built, it was quite common to have an 18-foot boat. Well, now then we've morphed into the 24 and 26 foot, 30 footers. And, we need bigger slips to accommodate those boats.
Sure. So help with the size of boats nowadays, it sounds like. So very good, Terry. About a minute and a half, sir. Anything else from the Monday night meeting you want to get to this morning?
Oh, I think,
or the Monday night meeting, the Thursday night meeting.
Yeah, we pretty well covered everything. It did seem like we had a few of the more contentious issues. We dealt with those, but we also did the normal business. We made our appointments. We had, it was the time of the year to approve the use of the motor fuel tax for the highway system, the township and the county. And we dealt with all those issues and ready to go on with the summer construction.
Sure. Look forward to it. And hopefully summer comes at some point.
It'd be nice.
Dry out a little bit, warm up some. So
we can quit wearing the long sleeve shirts
and
Carhartt coats.
Exactly right. Well, Terry, thank you so much for making time for us. Always good to have you in, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Seth.
DeWitt County Board Chair Terry Ferguson in studio with us. We follow up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. You can check out archived footage